Hello, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on your location. Um, so I wanted to begin our discussion on this level of going beyond our religion, because I think it's pretty relevant now. I've noticed and observed that many people are in the course of their worship, depending on their religion, may get to a place of worshiping God and they become very joyful and very ecstatic, very loving, feeling that way towards God, very intimate, as well as very intimate and loving towards people. Now, this is a wonderful place. You might think it can't get any better than that. I mean, if we make it to this consciousness in this life, I think, I don't know. There's not much better place to arrive at, is this place of unconditional love and just, loving your creator and loving people, and loving the world, just appreciating everything. Okay, so, all that being said, I wanted to talk about um, basically what it means to go beyond one's religion, because from the point of view of what I'm seeing in my own experience, is as I begin to worship, um, for me it's God. For me, it's like Jesus. It doesn't have to be for everybody like that. People can worship. Um, this might be a little controversial for people who believe Jesus is the only incarnation of God, but actually, it's not really so. And until we go beyond our own particular religion, which you really can't until you pop into this level of ecstatic worship of your God. If you're whether it's Jesus, whether it's Krishna, whether it's Lord Chaitanya, whether it's Ram, could be some other same God you're worshiping. Although generally on the level of religion, we think our God is the only God, and many of our scriptures are designed, if not all of them, designed to keep us focused on our own religion. And this is just kind of how it is. And so the good part of that is we stay focused, especially in the beginning of our journey, or you know quite a ways along our path. We stay focused on that and not get distracted in other things, because this is what I've learned from what I've studied here in the West, and also in India, studying scriptures from India, studying the Bible, having many personal spiritual experiences, meeting people, all kinds of people. And, I'm talking from this kind of basis. Um, Religious prejudice is in all religions, no matter how high they appear or seem to us, or being touted as the greatest one and the only way. Religious prejudice is there in all of them, and they always usually have the same symptoms. People have the same kind of symptoms, thinking only Islam. If you're converted to Islam, then you're saved. You're saved if you believe only in Jesus, or you're saved only if you chant the Hare Krishna mantra. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. See, all scriptures say these things, and it has its effect. Believers become very focused. Okay? But there's actually a deeper intention in this. What I found, it's not the complete picture. There's a reason for staying focused, and one reason is to reach the level of just arriving at a place of unconditional love and realizing the essence of the truth, which is to be absorbed in love and love for God. People call it love for God. See, there might be some other term, love for their God, love for Krishna. Like when I study the Vedic scriptures, they're always it's always was slanted towards not just love for God, but love for Krishna. See, or in the Christian religion, it's love for Jesus, Christ consciousness. See, love for Christ. So it's the idea is to arrive at that place where we feel this sincere, genuine love for our God. See, and that love is completely spiritual. I mean, it's more than that. It's everything. It's integrated. It's not just spiritual and this is material. It's completely integrated and pure in all respects. See? And it's unconditional. There's no judgment, no conditions on it, nothing like that. See? So whatever religion or spiritual path, you've arrived at that place and you have these kind of qualities or you've glimpsed that. I don't know. I don't know how many people are holding this consciousness steady. But anyway, this is the place. If you can see that, maybe that these videos will be attractive to you, because you have to go beyond religious prejudice to actually watch these videos or participate in this discussion, which, I invite anybody to participate. We're here on Google Hangouts, so anybody can just jump in there and we can talk about these things and relish these subjects. So I'd like to start this discussion with a story. And now, personally, I come from a background where I feel Jesus is like my savior, and he brought me to this place of understanding what is this kind of love. Without him, I would not be here at this point. And then I also have the experience of living in India half my adult life and studying the Vedic scriptures, which are very, very beautiful, and many, many amazing realizations have come from that. So if one, say, perchance is a Christian, you don't have to give up your religion or your relationship with Christ, because that's really what it becomes when we start to worship God on the ecstatic level. It's not a religion. You've crossed beyond that into a personal relationship. See, and that's another subject. We can talk about getting absorbed in the incarnation of God that you cherish in your heart. See, so at that point, crossing beyond religion is all religious prejudice, all these rules, regulations become archaic. It's a matter of fact, they often become a stumbling block towards one's personal relationship with God, which is spontaneous. It's just like those who are coming to this place of spontaneous devotion to their cherished form of worship or cherished God. It's very spontaneous and it's very in the moment. They just pray and just say, Lord, what's up for today? What do we want to do? See, it's kind of a we thing. Some people, little aside here, some people, in their course of their worship or their, it's worship, but in the course of their spiritual development, they want to be God. So there's a spiritual path like that, where you want to be God. And it's like, where's the relationship? Well, you're it, and there's nothing. It's kind of like the scriptures of the Vaishnavas teach a little bit about that. It's like God at, in the very, very beginning was like that. He's God. He's it. He's everything. He's ecstatic too, because God is just this raging ecstasy inside himself. But he decided it was more fun to create all these living beings and still be that one, but exchange relationship with them. See, now this is an issue. If you're a Christian, you're wondering, well, why is it all here? I mean, the Bible doesn't really answer it clearly, but if we take help from the Vedic cosmology, it's really amazing. And it makes a lot of sense. It's very logical. It makes a lot of sense. Very comforting to see, whoa, that's what it is. It's about relationship. Because I know for me, relationship to my God is more juicy and more wonderful. It's just like, it's better to be with friends than be alone. Isn't it? That's why people have friends, man. It's kind of like I see the world as a reflection of what it's really about in ultimate spiritual dimension. You could say in heaven or wherever. It, what's going on here is kind of going on there, and that's actually the Vedas teach that idea also, which helps us meditate on truth. If we see the world is a reflection of what's going on in heaven, and what's going on in heaven can be here also now. See, and you can experience the ecstasy of that. And I believe this is God's gift to the world. A lot of religions don't, like the Vaishnava religion doesn't teach that conception very clearly, but the Christians are arriving at that revelation that it's about not going to heaven per se, but to experience heaven on earth in an integrated way, where we see the glory of God in the world. See, now that to me is it's an integration. See, not this Gnostic idea that heaven is pure and the world is impure and evil. See, even in the Vaishnava religion, they teach a lot of that. It's like, let's get to the place of heaven, it's pure, or a spiritual world, it's pure, and this world is evil and it's darkness and it's, see, like this. But actually, when God is with us, very close, and we're in this relationship, see, that's one reason to be focused on one particular religion, to develop this relationship where it's really focused and you're not distracted by the externals, and then you've got this relationship, and then God is drawing close to us. See? Therefore, there's a lot of power in that. See, we become empowered. See? God's the truth about God is infused in us, and we could see, oh, God is in everything. God is everything. Okay? So we're never, we don't fall into this illusion. See, illusion basically is to see the world without being integrated with the supreme truth. So, okay, anyway, there's that. So back to the story. Now this story is very important if you come from a religion and you're at the point where you're starting to worship God in ecstasy, and say you're a Christian, say you're a Vaishnava, say you're a Muslim, but you're starting to get really ecstatic and you can't help but love everybody, no matter what their religion is, no matter whether they're a saint, no matter whether they're a sinner. Matter of fact, if they're sinners, you might love them a little bit more because, they need a little nurturing, mothering, and that's in God, man. And now that's starting to be in you because you and the Father are starting to be one. Just like Jesus, he was the first, him and the Father are one, and let those who believe in me be one like as we are one. Well, you start to experience with Jesus. experience. So God loves, and he loves the world, and he wants to help the world, and you become like that also. See, say you're at that point, or coming to that point, or it even sounds attractive. Everybody can participate. You guys got to be open to what we're talking about, man. You know, this is for whoever was just open and fascinated and interested, and you know, see, we're not here, you know, trying to do anything bad. It's just all good, man. It's all good and all ecstatic. Okay, so the story helps us cross the bridge of whatever religious fetters we may be holding on to as a Christian, as a Muslim, as a Vaishnava. Okay, it's in the book. I read it in a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I was looking for the story so I could read it, you know, like verbatim, but I couldn't find it, and I figured, you know, it came to me. God just wants me to um, just from what I remember. Okay, we'll talk about it like that. So the story starts out from, it's about a person on his spiritual journey, and this is actually a novel, written as a novel, but with all kinds of very, very deep spiritual truths that came from very, very deep revelations of a very, very deep, intimate devotee of God. See, so I would say advancement of a devotee is how intimate they are with God, because God can see, only with very, very deep intimacy with God can we begin to get real revelations about that illuminate what's going on in this world. See, this like in this intimacy, the Lord reveals, whispers in our spiritual ear many secret truths that clarify what has been said before in the scriptures, or in spirituality, or in the world. Clarifies all these things, connects everything, and also brings forth more new revelations. See, that's why we ultimately have to cross beyond our own individual religion to be like a scientist, to explore what other devotees, sincere devotees of God, are getting with the Lord in their relationship with the Lord, intimate relationship with the Lord, is sharing with them. See? Then we can also begin to learn also new things. See, that's because that's really the joy of the devotees. Say if I'm I'm a Christian, and I'm ecstatic also, and I have people that are getting revelations within my own group, be from worshiping Christ. I love it because I'm getting revelations and they're getting revelations, and we exchange these, we share this with one another, and we just learn like that. That's the way God set it up, to learn in that community. Can you imagine though that it doesn't stop there? Ultimately, when we get so ecstatic and so intimate with God, he may start showing us something different, like he's shown me and some other Christians also. Won't name any names, but that's why I got inspired to talk about this, because he's showing them that he's working in other places other than in the Christian religion. He's showing them that he can appear not only as Jesus and as we envision him with a beard, and you know, whether he had a beard or how he had long hair or short hair, you know, he appears in different ways, different people, different devotees in another way. So we you know, when we start to open up to that, God can do this, and then we can begin to understand more God's intimate dealings in the world with others also. He's not only dealing with Christians, he's dealing with a Muslim, he's dealing with Vaishnavas, he's dealing with people that we might even consider worldly because they're just not into religion. They just don't like, you know, all these rules and regulations. They just want to be one-on-one with God. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Yeah, okay, the story, we're getting to it. Sometimes we've got to go around the bush a little bit, but it's important, these little excursions around the bush. It's not about arriving at some place, it's the journey. It's the journey. And if you're thinking, well, when's he going to get to the story? Well, you just got to get in the right consciousness and see it's not arriving. We've already arrived. It's all here. It's all now. It's just about enjoying the journey along the way. See, because many things are learned in these asides and this. I remember I used to give classes, and when I first started, there was one guy who was always saying, "Well, get to the end, get to the end." See, this is we're programmed like this. It's a conditioning that it's like a goal set. This is the mind, and that's okay. I mean, everything has its place. But when you start to worship in ecstasy your God, you transcend the mind's this goal setting thing. See, and then you just relish every second, every moment. See, that's a different kind of consciousness. See? Goal setting has its place, that we move from one place to another in the world. See? Some people, they're so into worshiping and being in the moment, they don't move much. They don't have to. They're just traveling in their own consciousness. And then maybe they're moved spontaneously. People come and then they move them, and everything is built around this relationship that they have. It's another story. Okay, so in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, this wonderful book written as a novel, but embodies all these wonderful deep truths about about life, and actually our relationships in this world. See, we have a nature about us, and our nature is to be in relationship and to be servant and in service to what people call God. See, and people can even it's so much embedded in our nature that there's no way to get around it. We can be an atheist and still we have to serve our God. And who can our God be? This is why they talk about false gods in the Bible. Well, it could be what's considered a false god because there's not a lot of juice in it, really. That God can be money. See, God, everything is made of, this is another Vaishnava truth, everything is made of the substance of God. See, so money happens to be made from that. See? And people are very happy, often worshiping their God of money. But those who are worshiping God in another form, more subtler form, getting greater happiness are more free than those who are worshiping a God of money. See? But those who are worshiping, here we're on another side, those who are worshiping God in the subtler forms, there's more freedom in that. And it's just like Jesus taught. He said, seek the kingdom of God, and then all else is added. All the money and all that's added, but you're not attached to it. If you just go after money, if you go after powers even, you go after material things and properties and this and that, you may get that, and it's very hard work to get it usually, but then you're caught up in it. You're caught up in the effects into that level, and you're kind of stuck there. See, but if you worship the more subtler, purer form, what are considered purer forms of God, and that purest form is ultimately is the truth, which leads to love, devotion and love for your deep dear friend, which is your God, and love for people because your God is in everybody else. See, then everything is built around that. See, people will just come and they'll give you money, they'll support you, you'll be engaged in helping them find this treasure. This is the pearl of great price that Jesus was talking about. This is the kingdom of heaven. It's the one he was talking about that's within and at hand. Okay? Okay, so go in this story. This the character is his name is Gopa Kamara. Okay, um, now he achieves liberation. Okay, so and in this liberation, he's like, how Ezekiel, he didn't, give up his body, didn't die. Jesus also. Well, he was like that. He didn't have to give up his body. He actually was liberated in this body, turned into light, pure light. Okay, so he goes to the spiritual dimension where those who have achieved salvation and liberation go. Okay? And then he's seeing all kinds of amazing people. They're coming, and going to see their God. See? So the essence that he learned in this experience is not everybody was going to see the same God that he had a relationship with. And his God was Krishna. But not only just Krishna, because Krishna, when you study the Vaishnava literatures, it's an incarnation of God that has three divisions, three different kinds of natures. And each of those natures and characteristics of this Krishna, this incarnation, is worshipped by different devotees who like those qualities and characteristics. See, so he's seeing people are going to see this Krishna, who he was worshiping too, but this Krishna was manifesting different characteristics. See, this is it. So he saw people that were worshiping Krishna as a great king, very much like Christians who are worshiping Jesus, like a great king. See, they see him as like a great king, and they want to be at his side or his subject to this great king in great awe and reverence. See, this is a relationship with God. See, but God is versatile. Not all his devotees cherish such a relationship as God as a great king. I don't. Never did. I still love Jesus, but Jesus to me is in a more friendly basis. See? So this Gopakumara, his natural relationship with Krishna was a more friendly basis. And I've met Christians who are like this with Jesus. Now, a lot of people think Jesus is the only incarnation, but this is not really true. That's only when you have the religious blinders, the religious prejudice there, which all religions have, and say only Krishna is the only God. Sometimes people believe that. Less so because in their literature they teach the different incarnations. But most Christians believe Jesus is the only incarnation. But some persons that I've met, they're getting so deep and so ecstatic in their worship, Jesus is showing them different things. See? Like this person is so deep in his worship of God, Jesus, that he's in a very friendly basis and calls him unique names that a person who's worshiping Jesus as a great king of kings and all of this would think is blasphemous. No, you should relate more in reverence. But his relationship is so deep that it's more friendly and more like, cutting jokes and stuff like that. Now, God likes that relationship. God is actually more ecstatic about that relationship than he is by being worshipped as a great king by some of his devotees. We can even see it in this world as like that. If the president is more affectionate towards those who are more friendly with him, and he can open up to and cut jokes with and all that, then some worshiper, thinking, oh, you're the president, oh, in great awe, and they're standing back. I can't say a word because he's so great. See, the president doesn't, he'll accept that, but it doesn't make him very happy. See, these kinds of things I've learned in the Vaishnava scriptures, which are not clearly defined in the Bible. See, so when I add that into my bank, of understanding God and God's nature like this, it's more well-rounded, it's more deep, it's more clear picture of who God is. See, this is why ultimately you have to transcend your religion, your personal religion, to open up to where is God working with his other devotees. And sharing many intimate things that could be very helpful in our worship of Jesus or Allah or Krishna or Ram or Lord Chaitanya or New Age. I don't know, God you're creating, but the Lord can do something there too, I'm sure. There are many people that are in the New Age and they're talking about love, man. More talking about love than many Christians are. And see, the thing is, until another side coming, until we cross beyond condemnation, criticism of our brothers, then we can't really get into love so much. We can't hold that space, or our love will be more confined, because only those who are following my religion are worthy of my love. Those sinners out there, infidels and all of that, I hate them, or I need to convert them so I can associate. See, we're in this judgment. This is the tree of good and evil the Bible talks about. Got to cross beyond that at a certain point. So there are many people in the New Age that are they know that love is the ultimate thing, and they're getting there because they don't judge. They don't condemn. Not to say the New Age has got it all figured out. No, I'm just saying when we start to cross beyond our religious conditioning and religious prejudice, you start to look for the symptoms of love wherever it is. If it's in an atheist, because they don't condemn, they don't criticize, and they very cherish love, unconditional love. They just see like this. It might be there. See, you cross beyond the labels. It might be in the Buddhist. The Dalai Lama has so many wonderful qualities, and he doesn't believe in a Christian God. But can you start to look by symptoms and qualities, and not by religious prejudice? Because as soon as you condemn or criticize anything or anybody, you're blind to that love being there. You're blind to the Christ being in them. So anyway, looks like I'm running out of battery juice, and I could probably talk for another 10 hours, and I probably shouldn't anyway. Let's make this a part 1. Out of 1,000 parts, because this discussion is endless. It's a wonderful discussion, and can help. You could say this is like a deprogramming thing to clear away our religious prejudices, to start to look in a more expanded way about truth and see how God is looking at things. Because God is not just a Christian God, he's a God of all of us. And he'll use and work through any way he can to develop a relationship with us. It's that important to him. He'll do anything to do that. Because that really is how we're saved. We're saved by having a relationship with God. And it's spiritual, transcendental, it's everything. It gives us the power to overcome all deception, all illusion, all things like this. Okay? So Gopakumara sees people worshiping Krishna in different ways. So Krishna is considered by many millions of people an authorized incarnation of God. Just like many Christians consider Jesus an incarnation of God. But many Christians have this thing, and I had this also, I would go back and forth and all this. Jesus is the only incarnation because he says he's the only way and all this stuff. This is just not understanding the deeper principles of why God is doing this, why God is relating in the scriptures that way to keep us focused. But there have been many incarnations. If you study the many authorized incarnations, see? And anybody that worships these incarnations and doesn't judge or criticize in a humble way starts to experience the ecstasy in these incarnations, because they're all ecstatic, and you get close to them through worshiping them. You start to feel that ecstasy. That's how you know it's a bona fide incarnation. It's filled with ecstatic qualities. See, a false prophet, a false god is not filled with ecstatic qualities. Money is a false god. If you worship that, you will not feel this joyful kind of spiritual, transcendental, ecstatic experience and feeling, actually. You'll get some material feeling of greed and hoardiness and miserliness if you're just worshiping money. See? But if your worship is the subtler forms of God, like Krishna, like Jesus, like Ram, like this, you'll become very ecstatic and very detached and very free. And then money might just come to you. Just drop it to you. This. Oh, you need this? Here you go. It'll just come magically from places. Who knows? That's how it is. Support you teaching people about truth, man, because people like who are teaching stuff like this are very important. Who's teaching stuff like this? Unusual, rare. Yeah. Okay, so Gopakumara, he's seeing people worshiping God in a more awe and reverent fashion. He's seeing people worshiping Krishna. They come to him with a relationship of being more affectionate and more friendly, but also still some reverence there. Seeing, well, you're the God of God. Still, I gotta, So it's a mixture like that. Okay? But he's not seeing anybody really like him other than him. Now he sees Krishna as it's represented in Vrindavan as a cowherd boy who is so friendly that and so much like a human being, but he's both fully human and fully divine, very much like Jesus was considered now by elevated Christians. Very fully human and fully divine. Well, Krishna was very fully human and very fully divine. He would act very human ways and very intimately with his devotees, so much so that they didn't even want to know he was God. They just wanted to be so intimate like that. He's just my bud, man. He's my buddy. Who was that ecstatic to talk about Krishna Vrindavan, man? See, it heightens my ecstasy. Because, see, this is the nature of a devotee, man. The devotees have a certain relationship with God. It makes them very ecstatic. Matter of fact, Gopakumara couldn't be ecstatic with, seeing the devotee's relationship in awe and reverence. It's just like me, when I met devotees who were worshiping Christ in a very friendly way, calling Jesus dude even. It's like, wow, I found a friend, man. I love that, man. I love that intimacy. I love that informality. See, so an incarnation of Krishna or God, and this is respected and worshipped by millions of people worldwide. It's amazing. If you're a Christian, this might help deprogram you. There are millions and billions of people worshiping Krishna as an incarnation, just like you're worshiping Jesus as an incarnation. But you can't see it because why? Fetters of religious prejudice. It blocks you from being even reasonable, even logical about it, because your scriptures have actually said, well, Jesus is the only way. But that's not exactly true. It is and it isn't. And that's a topic of another conversation, which we will talk about and which I've learned by associating with Vaishnavas who are worshiping Krishna, Ram, and Lord Chaitanya. And it reconciles how Jesus can be the only way, but is also not the only way. Now that'll be an interesting, because if you're a Christian, you probably, even an ecstatic one, you probably cannot reconcile it until you take help from other devotees who are also ecstatic and worshiping God, and God has whispered that in their spiritual ear. Well, this is how it works. So stay tuned for that conversation. I think it's a very important one. See? Okay, so I got very few minutes left because I don't have electricity. I'm running on batteries. So if it just goes off like suddenly, that's why. Lost the power temporarily. So Gopakumara's relationship with Krishna was very intimate and very informal. See, and there was nobody in this spiritual liberated place, heaven you want to call it, that were really worshiping like that much in that particular sector where he was. See, and because that's how it is. If you're a Christian worshiping God very informally, you'll find that your friends will be, intimate friends will be less, because a lot of people don't worship Jesus like that. They won't call him dude. It's just like, that's blasphemy. That's irreverent. No, he's the great king and all, and you're thinking, no, my Jesus likes to joke around with me, like he's like my bud, man. Well, Gopakumara had that relationship with Krishna. It was like his bud, man, very intimate. His ecstasy was not aroused by this awe and reverent thing, although the person was feeling joyful who worships God like that, because that's their relationship. They like it. See, God just wants to make you happy. Yeah, God is like, he's like that. He wants to serve you. He wants to serve his devotees, so why wouldn't we want to serve him? That's reciprocal relations. He likes the service of those who relate to him as a friend, because it's like, wow, I got a friend, man. Just like we want a friend. We want also people to see. That's how groups of devotees come. Even Christians will notice this too. They're devotees who are worshiping Jesus, very ecstatic, man. They're falling around and they want to be around others who are doing that, or open to that. See, then they can be happy and free, in their worship. Then there's devotees who you go to churches and their worship, oh, God is very awe-reverent, and they're very more into rules, regulations. You got to work for your salvation, and they got another mentality. And they don't want to be around these crazy ecstatic devotees of Jesus who are just rolling on the ground and crying and laughing and just acting, weird, they consider weird.